You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. This is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. The Chris Voss Show. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. Part of the Chris Voss Show family. As always, we appreciate everything you guys do to share the show. The audience doubled in February, which for a 13-year-old show is really freaking hard. So thank you for all of you out there who've been sharing the show, writing the great reviews and 5-star stuff. Some of the stuff you guys write on the reviews, it just touches me. Like I sit and cry a little bit, and I hug one of my dogs and think, wow, people really like me. Bit of homage there, the old Saturday Night Live bit. Anyway, we have an amazing Hollywood actor, filmmaker, and linguist on the show today. Liam Sharpe's going to be with us talking about his new Amazon Prime Video series. And this is going to be pretty exciting. We're going to talk about his career and what he's doing with the show and some of the other projects that he has in works. In the meantime, as always, we have to dredge you over the shaming to invite your family, friends, and relatives to subscribe to the show. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. All the amazing authors we have over there on there. And then LinkedIn, the big LinkedIn show over there, the newsletter, the big group, all the stuff that we're doing is there as well. Tomorrow we have an amazing guest on the show as well. That's all we do. We only book amazing guests. We put on the Google machine and type in amazing guests, and then we invite them on the show. We have a billionaire coming on the show. I think this is our second billionaire on the show. We're still trying to get trillionaires to come, but we haven't found one yet, so we'll keep working on that. In the meantime, watch for that. That's going to be a big event tomorrow. For some reason, people like it when we have billionaires on the show, but I like it when we have Hollywood actors on the show, which we have today. Liam Sharpe is on the show with us today, and he has an amazing sort of history in what he's done and everything else. When he's not busy acting, producing or perfecting the multiple languages that he speaks, he loves staying fit and playing soccer and tennis. He tried out to be a goalkeeper for the Los Angeles Galaxy team, but it's probably better that he didn't, because now we can see him in movies and TV and all the series, and I'm sure he's going to go on to an amazing career. Welcome to the show, Liam. How are you?
Thanks, man. I'm very happy to be here. It's nice and warm down here in Mexico City, where I'm joining you from.
That's pretty cool. He's coming from Mexico City. We had a great discussion in the green room about, some of the living costs and things. The health. I know health is costs are cheaper there. I might be moving there in my old age as they go. So welcome to the show. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs and wherever you want people to get to know you better.
Yeah, man. LiamSharpe.com is my website. At Liam Sharpe B.
Mm-hmm. And you're
on Instagram. Yeah.
On Instagram as well. And of course, IMDb, you can see some of the work you've done there. And we're talking about your new Amazon Prime Video series you're doing, The Head of Joaquín Murrieta. If I got that right. Did I get that right, Murrieta?
Pretty much, yeah. Joaquín Murrieta. Yeah.
Joaquín Murrieta, The Head of. And it's now on Amazon Prime, where you can see it there. Tell us about this series and what got you involved with it.
Yeah, man, it was a really, really amazing just project to be involved with. I honestly had no idea coming into it what an experience it would be and how amazing it would actually turn out. I highly recommend watching it as a viewer, not just as an actor in the show. I loved watching it. Yeah.
What is the overview of the show? What does it entail?
It's a great question. So, in a nutshell, The Head of Joaquín Murrieta, or the original Spanish, La Cabeza de Joaquín Murrieta, is the first big Latin American Western. And it kind of flips the script a little bit. I mean, the cowboys are always the heroes in the Westerns, right? Mm-hmm. In this case, they still are, but those are Mexican cowboys, or almost more specifically, Californian cowboys, because the show really tells the history of based on a true story of Joaquín Murrieta, who was a Californian in the time where the U.S. wanted to take over California from Mexico, and at the same time, California wanted to be independent, which is obviously still a topic, and it tells the story of how diverse a place it is and all of the conflict that was happening. And gold, of course, played a huge role in all that because people found this rare metal they wanted to take out of the ground and sell. And yeah, it's just the story of it's really the beginning of the history between Mexico and the U.S., which is obviously still a big topic today.
Yeah. I think Mexico's still trying to take it back. So there you
go. I think they wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Well, they probably ship a lot of nose candy to, I think, Los Angeles. That's a joke, people. Just leave it alone. Don't write me. So this is kind of interesting story because this is a historical context. There was, the big fight over, the expansion of the United States and some of the different things we did between Texas and California. It's beautifully shot. I have to tell you, I love the cinematics of it. It's got that grit that, you look for in a Western. Like I'm a big fan of Westerns, especially like spaghetti Westerns. I mean, who can forget some of the great Westerns that are out there? But there's a grit to it. It's not clean. Like one of the problems I have with some Westerns, especially some that were produced in the 60s and 70s, were some of the John Wayne ones, not all of them, but some of the John Wayne ones were a little bit too sheen. You're like, everybody clearly showers every day in this. And I'm not really sure everyone was doing that in the 1800s.
No, don't think so. Definitely doesn't look like that in our show.
Yeah, and so in the series, it has definitely a grit to it. Now, where are we at with the series? Are we still in season 1?
Season 1 just came out 2-3 weeks ago, February 17th. So that's live now. It dropped all at once, so you can binge watch it, which I did immediately.
And then what role do you play? Of course, you're probably wanting to see all your scenes, right?
Yeah, I definitely just fast forward now. I'm the bad guy. Me and another guy play the two bad guys. We're the evil gringos, basically.
Those evil gringos.
We're the ones that were in charge of taking California, in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. And I think you play a part as a military leader or someone in the Army. U.S. military.
Yeah, essentially, that's definitely the aesthetic. We're the California Rangers, and the California Rangers came out of the Texas Rangers, which came out of soldiers in the Mexican-American War. So after the Mexican-American War, Texas Rangers were founded up, those soldiers, and out of the Texas Rangers, they hired Captain Love, who's the other bad guy, kind of my boss, basically, to round up a band of whoever he wanted to form the California Rangers to hunt down, in particular, Joaquín Murrieta.
There you go. And so the story kind of revolves around him, doesn't it? We're going through the paces, and it looks like I don't want to give away too much of the series, but looks like he's going around exacting a bit of revenge or a bit of tidying up the books of people maybe who wronged him.
That's kind of the gist. Yeah, he's the Mexican Robin Hood, to put it simply.
Ah. There you go.
He was this outlaw that was stealing gold and distributing it to the people. The people.
And it kind of details the big fight between, people that are Mexican that are living in what at the time was Mexico, and is now California, and the fight over land rights and settlers and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. What's really cool about the show is that it draws in everybody. It has incredible diversity. It shows a large portion of the show and talks about or deals with also the indigenous populations that were in the area around the border areas between Mexico and California, which isn't often talked about, but was a huge factor in everything. So there's Mexicans, Americans, indigenous, Californios who were technically Mexican but wanted to be independent and did become independent for a very brief period of time before the U.S. took advantage of that moment in history to swoop in. Which, I mean, I'm from California, so I can't be too mad. I wouldn't exist if they hadn't done that. But
Hollywood wouldn't be here.
It was kind of messed up, but yeah exactly.
Yeah,
changed the world.
But that was one of the things I enjoyed about watching the series was they call them Native Americans now, but back then they were indigenous people. But seeing them use real characters from those places really, I mean, it just enhances the authenticity of the show. I grew up in an era where, especially I think during the 60s and 70s, they would use white actors to play indigenous people or, different roles. And sometimes it would be really obvious to a point that you're just like, it would break the fourth wall, at least for me, where you're just like, this is, come on, man. Like, this isn't real. Like,
a little on the nose. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things I liked about the show. There's not a lot of major stars in it that you would find in like big Hollywood productions that move the thing, but the stars are really good in it, where they're gritty and they have that. The acting is well done. The filmmaking, the cinematography. Cinematography is a big deal. I'm a Akira Kurosawa fan, and so cinematography is a real big deal for me, and how the camera plays the eye and everything else. Now, your expertise is being an actor, a voiceover worker, a filmmaker, writer, and linguist. Tell us a little bit about some of those different things that you use and you incorporate in the movie.
Yeah, definitely, man. First, like it's true. It was a very Mexican oriented cast. Just go back to what you were just saying. And so a lot of the actors are huge in Mexico, but really? As is typical, you could be huge around the world and never heard of in the U.S. So, like, the guy who plays my rival is huge in Mexico, big in Spain, but and he's done stuff in the U.S., but it's just a different world in a weird way.
And he acts great. It could be a great crossover.
Yeah, they were. Everybody really impressed me. Honestly, everyone was good, which is hard to do. It's hard to get everybody to be that good. I was impressed.
Yeah, and I love how Amazon Prime and Netflix and Apple TV has done some great things. They've really kind of expanded the scope of what Hollywood had, and you can find really great product that's being put out, that doesn't have to be in Hollywood, rubber stamp by effective anything. In my opinion, some of the Hollywood stuff has kind of gone down the tube. I see so many, different movies with hardcore messaging that seems to be more about messaging than it is about writing a good plot story. And the actors are really what do it for me, and stuff. There's a lot of tense scenes in the movie, and there's a bit of blood. What's that old line? There will be blood. There's a bit of blood in the movie, but
just a little.
I think that I'm being a little facetious, but I mean, there's a grittiness to it. There's a reality to it. It was a savage time with a savage group of people. I mean, it wasn't a pretty era in time, and I think that maybe captures it well.
Yeah, it really wasn't, and I think what it does a great job of showing is that everybody was pretty messed up at that time.
Yeah.
The Americans, obviously, but everyone was not great. And in real history, Joaquín Murrieta has a legend of being a hero. I don't know that he was the best guy in real life either. Everybody was just kind of shitty at the time.
Well, it was a pretty, I would call it lawless, kind of somewhat law, and going around and doing it. So how's the series going so far? Are you guys in production for the next series yet, or do you wait to see if it's going to get picked up? It's kind of still new on its release.
Yeah, it just came out. I haven't heard yet. I've heard positive things, but nothing's concrete yet for subsequent seasons. But based on what I've heard and I've seen, it's very promising. But the reception has been incredible. I mean, around the world, people have really loved this. I saw a review in Hindi the other day, which
really
seemed positive. I don't speak Hindi, but it seemed good. It was a newspaper in Belgium, in the French part of Belgium. I've just seen stuff from all over the place. It was like top 5 in the US when it came out, which is great to see. Really, really cool to see.
And I think it's great in how it depicts. I mean, like I said, it has that grittiness. It has that the good, bad, and ugly sort of grittiness to it, which is totally such a great movie. A lot of Clint Eastwood's. I'm a big fan of those movies.
It definitely drew from a lot of different Western inspirations in particular, but also other inspirations, which, I'm really impressed by the final product. It was incredibly fun to shoot.
What do you like about your role the most? Because you play the soldier, and do you like playing the bad guy?
There's not much to like about Oliver. It was a very fun experience being the bad guy. I think the best part about it has been that most people don't believe me when I tell them. I'll tell you, I was in the show, and you should go check it out. I play the bad guy. And they're like, you're nice. You're like a nice guy. How are you? I was like, just watch it. And if you hate me, thank you.
Thank you. You'll win. I mean, that's acting, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Now, one of the things you have is you are fluent in 7 languages. Give us a rundown on everything you're fluent in and how that helped you fill out the role.
Yeah, man. So English is my native language. I started learning other languages with German when I was 14. Just randomly, my grandparents were German, my dad's parents, and I just randomly thought it'd be cool to learn German. I don't know. I thought it'd be cool to have some language I could talk to people and that no one else would understand. And it worked, and it's true. Most people in the U.S. don't speak German, so I had that secret language. From there, I started learning Spanish, and I would basically just find people to talk to. I just made friends who spoke that language and forced them to talk that language to me and didn't speak English. And that's how I learned Spanish. And then in college, I went to UC Santa Cruz and I learned Portuguese. I took Portuguese there, which is pretty similar to Spanish. So it wasn't a huge leap. And then I later in college did a exchange semester in China, in Shanghai, and just studied Mandarin. Got pretty good. I definitely wouldn't say I'm fluent in Mandarin, but I think for being a white guy, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, Mandarin's hard to learn.
Yeah, it's pretty different than Spanish or English. But it's also one of the cool things was it's easy to impress. It was easy to impress people there. All I had to do was say like, "Oh, thank you," and they'd just be like, "Whoa, your Mandarin's amazing."
Wow. Yeah, I know Mandarin's hard to learn. I mean, you may as well just go learn Russian. And you did that between the ages of 14 to 20.
Yeah, exactly. So 14, I started learning German. 16 was around when I did Spanish. 17 was Portuguese. 19 was Mandarin. And then just through that period, not for any specific reason or any specific, I don't know, it just kind of happened, I guess. I've picked up enough French and Italian to get by and have a good conversation with people. And been working on my Dutch lately.
Oh, wow.
A very unique, fun sounding language, I think.
Language is interesting. Telling the history of peoples. I remember when I learned a bit of Spanish. I flunked Spanish, but when I learned, I used to be able to count to 40. I think I still can if I ran it off in Spanish. But learning about how there's the masculine and feminine parts of Spanish. I'm like, wow, that's really complex. It's hard enough for me to learn English at this point, or at least when I was a kid. So you traveled a lot. You've lived in different places, which I think has probably expanded your thing. What's interesting is you started out working as an electrical design engineer for a solar company, and doing some other things. What made you turn into Hollywood and acting and stuff?
A lot of luck, but that's a great question. I was working I wanted to save the world when I was in college. I still would love to, but I'm a little more realistic now.
It's hard to do it on your own.
A little hard. So I was like, well, let me work in sustainable energies. What can I do that? I found this really cool solar company in Santa Cruz, and I just kind of pestered them until they gave me a job. And I was just like going to supermarkets and yelling at people like, hey, you want solar panels, right? And most of them probably did, but not for me and not because I was yelling at them. And then I basically just kind of subtly worked my way into becoming a site technician, doing the designs and stuff, going out to the houses, figuring out how the whole electrical system worked. I didn't study electrical engineering or anything, but I was able to learn a basic amount, how solar systems work, not the planetary ones, the electric ones. And then I just kept doing that until I decided it would be good to make more money. And I went to Germany to get my master's in computational linguistics, which is like linguistics, which I already knew I loved, languages and stuff, but with the tech component. So I was like, I'll go work for a tech company and make, Google Translate or work on that kind of thing. And I thought that'd be really cool. And it is, but it isn't really cool for me. I decided I didn't want to do that. And one day I didn't want to work in an office. I wasn't that great at the tech side of things. Definitely more on the humanities, arts side of things. And one day I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to be an extra in a movie? Like, people do that. Those are just regular people, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked it up, and I got cast in a cool movie as an extra, but I got a little close-up moment, which, don't tell anybody, got actually cut out of the final movie, but that's okay. And then I just realized that people would pay me to do, even if it wasn't much at the time, would pay me to do it. And I just did it, I guess.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting business. People don't. I don't think people nowadays. Maybe they do. I don't think most people really appreciate the art that goes into it and the work that goes into being an actor. Years ago, I owned a modeling and acting agency in Utah for 6 years, and back then, Touched by an Angel was a big thing up here, and a lot of productions were going up here because of a recent strike in Hollywood. And so people were coming up to Utah for the non-union part of it. But it's a beautiful place, and a lot of stuff is filmed here, including Westerns down in the southern part. But I would go to auditions with some of the people that we knew that were producing films up in Utah. And, I'd see like all the actors, some of them were mine, would come in and do their auditions. And it was interesting to watch. And you would have, most of them would not really have it. And then suddenly someone would come on with an audition, and there's no music. There's no background, of the set or whatever. They're just there standing in front of you, sometimes in a warehouse setting. That's and they will deliver an acting performance that will maybe have you crying or jumping out of your seat or excited, or they will move you in such an emotional way without the music, without the background, without the story. They'll just jump right into the piece of that character. And people don't realize, I think people don't realize how powerful that it takes to be a great actor or an actor in itself to deliver that.
I think you're right. It looks easy, because they pick the people that make it look easy. And it's really not that easy. I mean, I think there's two kinds of actors. There's actors that can play anyone. It could be anybody. Like Meryl Streep could be a 6-year-old boy.
She's playing me in the upcoming movie.
That makes sense, actually.
God help her, please.
And I think there's that's like, I think, a truly incredible thing, which is just infinitely hard to do. And I think most actors can play characters that are like themselves in some way really well, or, good actors. And that's also very hard to do, but I think that's a lot easier to do if you can come from yourself, which is, I don't know, that's just what most acting to me seems like it is. You just kind of put yourself in a situation with a few different parameters. Okay, I'm like this in this world, and how would I act? But being able to be anybody whatsoever, that is a skill I really, really admire. And I think it's very rare. And it's kind of what you're talking about with these auditions, that people can do that. It's incredible.
Yeah, people don't realize that actors will, build the character in their head, or at least off of what they're given on the sheet, and then make their choices. There's a lot of work involved in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of background work that goes into all of it. You really prep a lot. You got to learn your lines, and that's kind of the easiest part. At least that's not the hard part for me. The hard part is figuring out the world.
Yeah. See, my problem is I'm like Marilyn Monroe. I can't remember my lines.
Yeah,
but I'm really good looking.
Yeah, right.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I sympathize. Yeah.
It's a burden. So how did you? It's painful, man. I suffer every day. So So, what, since you play such an evil character, a bad guy in this movie, where the hell did that come from?
Wow, I didn't know I had that in me, now I'm terrified. I think it's in everybody. Yeah. Everybody's like got an angry part, and everybody's got a part where they feel like things aren't fair. And I don't know. I mean, objectively, I don't know. My life's been great. I have not a lot to complain about, but I can imagine what it would be like if it weren't, And certainly I've had my own challenges and times when I was mad, or you just draw from that. But I think the really hard part is taking that experience or number of experiences and putting that into this context, which is completely different. That's, I think, one of the main challenges between being a person and a person acting another person.
Yeah, it's so funny how people don't get the acting part. Like I've seen criticism of actors and actresses, and Chris Rock got some stuff on the comedy part. I think there's some other comedians that are greats that, they get a lot of shit nowadays. Some of the people that are out there, I'll see stuff on like, Twitter of people like, they're basically armchair quarterbacking someone who actually does the work, and you're just like, hey, do you get it, man? Like, this is acting. It's acting. This is the whole point of being an actor. And so some of the things that go into it. What are some of the other projects you might be working on, or do you want to plug any projects you've done in the past?
Yeah, man. What I'm working on now, since we started filming this show, and a little before that, I've been doing a lot of writing. So what I'm really focusing on now is producing these at the moment 2 main projects that I've written. One's a feature film, one is a TV series. The TV series is a very large undertaking. The TV series basically tells an alternate history version of what happened to the Aztecs in the history of Mexico. The Aztecs were the residents of what is now Mexico City, and they controlled much of Mexico 500 years ago when the Spanish arrived from Europe and got involved, let's say. In this version, it tells that story as faithfully as possible, because no one really knows. The Spanish burned all of the Aztec accounts of everything, so it's all kind of biased accounts and speculation, unfortunately. But as best I can tell, or anyone can tell, telling that story, but the major twist being the Aztecs end up winning. And by the end of season 1, and that's not really a spoiler because it's kind of the whole point of the show. So at the end of season 1, they remain in control of Mexico, and they end up checking out what's going on in Spain and getting involved over in Europe. And we just kind of keep going in that direction. We know what happened in the real history. We've seen that. I want to know what would happen if Europe hadn't taken over the world.
That would be an interesting story to watch. Not to do a Nazi comparison of some of the negatives of Nazism, but that show that they did where they played out if the Nazis had won.
The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting because I'm like, what if? It would be interesting to kind of explore that and the story of it. And so not to make a comparison between Nazis and the Aztecs, but just from that example. It
is very, I mean, I've definitely drew inspiration from that concept, and I really like that show. And I really like the concept of alternate timelines as a really fun thing to explore for me. So a lot of my projects play with that.
Would have been interesting too, maybe if the American natives had won all the wars that we were doing when we first came. I think we had some authors on that have talked about the history of that. And
in the show, that would happen. In this show, that would happen.
We'd just be back in Europe drinking our stupid tea and stuff. No, I just lost the London audience. Earl Grey is great tea. Earl Grey, get it today, wherever Earl Grey is sold.
I'm a big fan of chai tea lattes, which probably most people wouldn't consider tea, but they're delicious.
There you go. There, I think we just lost the London crowd again. I think, don't they like their old tea over there? That's their big thing.
I'm not an expert, but yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I've heard it through the thing. I can't.
I've heard. I've been told. Yeah,
I can't call the Queen anymore. She's not returning my calls anymore. I don't know why. Anyway, that's a Queen joke, people. She's passed. God bless the Queen. God, I'm trying to save the London crowd now. So Liam, anything more you want to touch on or tease out before we go?
Absolutely, man. Lots of stuff. You asked me a question like 30 minutes ago that I didn't answer. I was like, let me go back to what you said before. But
I just figured you were dodging it.
Yeah, right. I kind of got that. Like, he doesn't want to talk about it, him. But I forgot what was that question.
I know. There's a couple of questions I asked. What got you into acting, learning languages, future things, other projects you're working on or have worked on? You want to plug?
Yeah, man. So there's the show that I've been working on, and there's this movie, which is probably what I'll make first, given that show is a big project, big budget, big show. So I'm going. I've written this movie as well, which could definitely be made for a more reasonable budget, let's say, which deals with the U.S.-Mexico border today. So not in a dissimilar vein from Murrieta, but now in today's day and age, and what it looks like now, which is the main character is a border patrol vigilante, a xenophobic guy who's trying to prevent people from crossing the border. And basically he ends up in Mexico with what's called aphasia. So he loses his ability to speak English and finds himself in Mexico and has to survive from there and try to get his life back after losing first his ability to speak his own language, which is another problem with being monolingual. If you lose that, what do you do?
That's true.
And then, just trying to get his life back. And, it's got this really nice arc to it. I'm really excited so we're in like pre-production for that. I'm really, really excited to get that one off the ground.
like stuff like this because it seems more authentic. Like I say, I don't like the fakeness of, I've seen Westerns where the buildings are like a little too clean. You're like, you live in the Dust Bowl and there's the desert and there's like wind blowing and sand and looks like everyone washed the buildings last week. And everyone's showered and clean, shaven and a little too sheen. And you're just like, it's like, this doesn't seem like the gritty old Wild West, And so I'm a real big, I like authenticity because I think it just makes a great thing. And I also like movies that aren't trying to send me, social messaging. I mean, it's not that I have issues with social messaging. It's just like I came to see a movie. Like, I went to The Godfather. Like I love The Godfather movie. I recently saw it again in theaters for its 50th anniversary. I don't want to see The Godfather telling me about climate change. Climate change is real and it's a good thing. Whatever. Fix it. But I don't want to see The Godfather talking to me. I don't want to see Godfather 4 going. Godfather takes on climate change, that sort of thing. It's just get it. I mean, I get it. Damn movie.
People go to the movies to escape all that stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Most really good movies do have a message, but it's not so in your face. You think about it, and you're like, oh, I get it.
It's kind of
great. That's super cool. Yeah. If it's really, if it supersedes the plot, I'm with you.
Yeah. Like I think I'll throw some shade, in my opinion, like there's a Marvel movie that came out with the Thor dude. And like the whole movie is just about his rejected ex-girlfriend or getting back with his ex-girlfriend. I haven't watched the movie clearly because I saw the premise trailer and I just went, oh, this is probably for the chicks who want to get back together with Thor or whatever. It's some sort of girlfriend-boyfriend dynamic. Like, I have enough painful relationships in my past. I really don't want to watch someone else's.
Right.
Like I'm here to see, you go see Spider-Man. You don't see Spider-Man to see that, it's a subplot, his relationship with the girl he likes, but the rest of the movie is him killing bad guys and, or fighting bad guys, that's what you really want to see. You don't really care, that's a subplot, but to see like a whole movie shaped around that, I'm like, what the hell's going on? But, I mean, it's suspension of animation or reality and whatever. But I have enough of that in my life. But so I love the movie, or the series so far. I watched the first part of it, and the grittiness, the reality, the characters I dig. I kind of actually like that there's no big actors that I know of. I mean, you said they're very big in Mexico, but right. I really liked it because I can explore the actors a little bit more. Who is this person? What's going on? Totally. And that speaks to me a little bit more than, sometimes you do break the fourth wall if I see Meryl Streep doing something. I mean, it's still Meryl Streep. You're like, I think when she played the Queen, you're like, yeah, it's still Meryl Streep. She's a great actress. No shade on her, but
it's very hard to get beyond being you.
That's true. I mean, and that's pretty much what my psychiatrist says is my biggest problem. Anyway, Liam, it's been wonderful to have you on the show. Give us your.com so if you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. It's liamsharpe.com, SHARPE. Instagram @liamsharpeb. Also, my production company, sharpestudios.com. We do fun commercials, music videos, and do all kinds of stuff on the production side. So me in front of the camera, Liam Sharpe, behind the camera, Sharpe Studios. And can't wait to see you guys there.
There you go.
More shows and movies. Hopefully this next one that we're working on is going to come out very soon. So
there you go.
I'll come back and talk to you about that one when that comes out.
There you go. We'll look forward to seeing Godfather 4 takes on climate.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm climate change in that.
I think actually. Francis Ford Coppola is working on that one. That or Apocalypse Now too. That's another favorite of mine. I don't even know how you do a sequel to that movie.
Apocalypse.
Well, exactly. Anyway, thank you very much, Liam, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Cheers, man. It's a pleasure.
And to my audience, check out the series on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, I think just about everybody does nowadays. Who doesn't, for real sakes? What's going on there? Check out the movie or the series, The Head of Joaquín Murrieta. And I think you'll like it. I like the grit of it. It has a real Western feel. It's not like, somebody who shouldn't be in a Western playing a Western. It really looks and feels like the thing. And it's a great story, and it definitely has its elements of suspense and all the wonderful action that goes into a movie. So check that out as well. There'll be a link on the Chris Voss Show. Also, refer your family, friends, and relatives to the Chris Voss Show. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and all the places in between, all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.